I looked for some photos online to get a little more interior information, and I did find a wood paneled center console. So I have masked off the outer edges just for the sake of not. It's not really necessary because I'm going to be brush painting, and I'm going to use. I'm going to start with this brown XF72, which is JGSDF. I think maybe that's one of the German colors for like World War One, World War Two. Anyway, it's a brown. That's going to be our base layer, and then when that dries, we'll do some dry brushing, some streaking with a darker either brown or black even to kind of give a wood grain effect. And then when that's dry, we'll go over everything with some clear orange. But I'll show you each step as we go. So the masking tape isn't really required. I just did that to help, keep it a little cleaner, because when that comes off, there's a raised edge, and we'll paint that raised edge in a silver or chrome, as well as these door side panels. The whole frame of that is actually raised, and you can see it back here. I decided I wasn't going to do the back half of that. I have masking tape over the armrest, which will be black, the door pull handle, and the window crank. That will probably get a bare metal foil chrome on, at least on the door handle, but maybe as well on the window crank. So that's what I'm getting ready to do now, is to lay in our wood grain, and I probably need to mask off the underside of this glare shield of the dash panel to help constrain that paint in there as well. Alright, so I've got my 3/0 brush, and in this cup I have a little bit of Mr. Leveling Thinner, because the one thing about the Tamiya acrylic paints, they dry really quickly, so they're not ideal for brush painting. So you have to keep your brush wet with whatever thinner you're going to use. And in this case, I think the Mr. Leveling Thinner is probably the best to use, just because it helps it stay wet longer, if that makes any sense to you. And by staying wet, I mean it makes the paint easier to move. It doesn't dry as quickly. Any thinner will keep it wet, but the Mr. Leveling Thinner, especially because of the way it's made, will keep it wetter longer. And we don't need a lot. We just need to cover the black that's on there, and then we'll let it dry, and that's when we'll go back in and we'll try to create some wood grain with, like I said, either a black, like a dry brush effect, either with black or a dark brown. We'll just have to give it a look-see and play it by feel, I think. Oh, and I did figure out that this center instrument, well, I haven't figured it out completely, but it's not a clock. I think it's actually a tachometer. The photo I found online I wasn't able to zoom in close enough to read it completely, but what I could tell from it, it definitely was not a clock. But I do think it's a tach. And that makes sense. So you got your speedometer on the left, your tach in the middle, and then your four other parameters, temperatures and pressures in that quad gauge. All right, now on this side of the dash, you've got your heating and air conditioning controls, and then whatever this other thing is that I still haven't really figured that out. And I'm painting around them, but not concerned if I get paint on them, because those will get detail painted as well separately. So right now I'm just mainly concerned with getting this brown paint down on this panel so that we can get our wood grain put in. And in fact, I even found, you see I'm a little bit up underneath this glare shield portion of it. There's a photo I found of that, and there's actually in that there's a little bit of a like a chrome or metallic lining up underneath there, but it's just above the gauges, almost exactly where I'm painting this brown in there now. And I just felt like, yeah, you're not really going to see that, and it's going to be difficult to paint that into place anyway, so we're not going to worry about that. All right, so there's the dashboard. Let's put a little bit more thinner on there, and let's do this center console. Now you see the tape I left there in the middle here. That'll get a bare metal foil panel, so it won't be the wood grain there. Now see, it's kind of streaking because I've got the paint thin. You know, that could almost work as my wood grain, but we're not gonna leave it that way. We'll add the wood grain after. But in a way, it's telling me that I really don't need to get complete opacity in my color here, because leaving a little bit of that black showing through does contribute to a wood grain effect. So, you know, do it however you like. I'm going to go ahead and continue to paint this in with pretty good opacity. I'm not going to leave the black base really showing through. Maybe a little. But I am going to go back afterward when this is dry, and we'll do a dry brushing to add that wood grain. And then once the wood grain is put in and dry, then we can go back in and give it a clear orange. And you could use clear yellow. You can mix a couple colors. You could use, you know, if you had a really light base layer, a lighter wood than what I'm using, you could even use the smoke clear from Tamiya, you know, to kind of darken it maybe. So there's a lot of ways that you can achieve this effect with different colors, you know, representing different wood species. Now that our base brown is dry, cured, we're going to try to do some grain streaking. And I'm going to use NATO brown, which is XF68. So we're going to dry brush that, and we're just going to kind of streak it in there to get what might look like the grain of the wood. So I'm gonna get plenty of it on the brush, and then I'm gonna remove the vast majority of that. So hopefully this works. Well, we might actually need to paint some of these lines on there. So let's see, just very gently All right. That's actually working out pretty good, because over this now we'll go with the clear orange, and I think that's really gonna finish it up pretty good. It'll give us the look we're really after. All right, now there's not much here in the dash to really even apply grain to, but we're gonna give it a shot anyway. It's almost non-existent, and you know, and it really it's really not going to be seen anyway. But why do we do it? We do it because it's fun, and we know it's going to be there. We know that we did it, and we made it look good, even if nobody else sees it. We know we did it. We know it looks good. All right, so I'm gonna let that sit for, not real long, maybe a half an hour or so, and then we'll come in with the clear orange and finish it. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this masking tape off now. It's sat long enough. It's not completely dry, but you know, the masking tape was only there to help keep me inside the lines, more or less. So far so good. Let's see if I can get this little center piece out without damaging anything. All right, had a little bit of bleed through, but not a big deal. That center panel there, right behind where the gear shifter will be, probably more than likely going to use some bare metal foil on that. But then the trim all the way around, that is going to get chrome, and I think I'm actually going to use what's the name of that new chrome paint that everybody's been raving about on YouTube, off of Amazon. I have that. Can't think of what it's called right now, but it works really, really nice. So I'm going to paint the edge of that trim. We'll probably paint the gauge bezels with that. Get this off of here. And then these controls for the heating and air conditioning, that'll get some of that chrome paint. The radio face will probably get, it'll probably get chrome paint, and then maybe, I don't know if I can get in there and detail some of those buttons or not. The other thing I was gonna do, and I still intend to do, I'm gonna drill out these knobs and replace those with styrene rod so that they're a little more pronounced, and they'll get a slight bit of detail painting as well, but I'll show you that when I get to it. In order to paint the custom hood on this Demon, I need to kind of create a mask, but not really a full mask per se. You'll kind of see what I'm talking about when I start painting it, but what I'm using here is Frisket film, and it has this is the film, the adhesive side is between it and this paper, but you can draw on the paper and then you peel that off, and now you have your mask. And if you're doing script or something though, you'd have to put it on there in reverse so that when you peel the tape off it's proper, or when you peel the backing off it's in the proper orientation. But that's not going to affect us now because this is just a face, so left, right, upside down, backwards, it's all the same. What I've done here is I've traced the outline of the hood, so you know the quarter panels come out further this way, you know, and then so that's kind of your top down. Now our image, which I'll put up here in the corner. All right, so we kind of want that face in the middle of our hood, right? And I'm just gonna start sketching. All right, so this is just a center line more or less for me. No, that's not even very centered, is it? Let's go this way a little more. All right, so off of that, we're gonna go about here and draw about a, I don't know, what is that, maybe a 30-degree angle. All right, and so way out here, let's go so that's the upper part of our open eye. So this angle here is about where that eyebrow area is. All right. Now I like the way these eyes are drawn with this little area here. I think it gives it just a little bit more of a sinister look. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So what will happen is these eyes, those will get cut out and then stuck down to the hood after I put the first layer of paint on, which will be a white. All right, and then once the white's on, we'll probably leave those on there for a little while we do more of the red, the darker red area. And then nearing the end, we'll peel those off when we hit it with the yellow, so that those eyes are bright, but with just a hint of yellow still in them. All right. All right, so we basically have our eyes in place. Yeah, so this is our eyebrow. The nose, well, let's see, let's do this cheek contour here. All right, you can see that to either side of the nose, and then it's faint, but there's the nostrils, right? And then the nose itself, the tip of the nose. All right. And then below that, so we come down below that, and you can kind of see there's a mouth line right in there. And from the corner of that mouth line, looks like it comes down, not even necessarily straight down. All right, and then it's got this shape of the face. All right, it's kind of got okay, that's kind of what we're working with. Now, like I said, this isn't going to be an exact mask for this, but what I'll do is I will probably cut around here, all right, and then use this part as a mask to leave this open. We'll put the eyes in, all right, and then what I have left, we'll actually break it down into pieces going forward through our paint colors. And you'll see, I'll explain it as I'm doing it. But this is what we're going to start with, and I may work on making those eyes look a little more identical. Now that we've got our mask drawn and cut out and applied to the hood, now it's time to start laying down the paint. And this first layer is X2 Tamiya white, gloss white. And I'm just spraying up and down in the center of where the face would be, and then left to right across where the eyes would be mainly, and then a little bit left to right down around the jawline or the jowl area. And what that's going to do is help contour the shape of the face, because as you get around to the sides of the face, it won't be as bright, and that'll help create that contour. So now we've got that on. Now we're adding a clear orange, and that is Tamiya's X26. All right, we're just hitting some strategic areas based on our reference image. And like I said, this isn't going to be an exact replica of our reference image. That is just a guide to lay down a similar image. All right, so we go from the clear orange to we did clear red, and now I'm laying in, this is a darker red. This is actually from Mr. Clear Color. It's their GX102 Deep Clear Red. It's a much darker red than the Tamiya X27 is, and I kind of like it, but I was having trouble getting it to spray right. I thinned it like I normally do, but it wasn't wanting to come out as cleanly on me as the Tamiya paints were. But I felt like I needed to use it because, like I said, it is darker than the Tamiya red, and I needed that step in color difference, mainly to do that eyebrow area over and around the eyes, and then a little bit underneath the nose area. And then you see here I'm kind of shading in the cheek sides a little bit as well. And then after that, now we're down to a clear yellow, and we're going over all of that with the clear yellow. And there's going to be some more touch-up needed on this. Here I'm going over all of it with some more clear orange all around the face and on the hood, because we're going to build more of a fire color in the hood itself. And then I'm going to go back in again and still touch up some areas with maybe even a little bit of white added to a few spots to give us a little more opacity, but I'll show you how it looks in the end. Alright, first off, let me apologize for making such a long video. I had so much information to share with you this week that it ran longer than I typically care to make a video, and I trimmed it down as much as I could, really. I know most people don't even watch past about 5.5 minutes most of the time. So hopefully you've stuck around to the end. And here's what we've ended up with. I have done a little bit more to it than what you see at the end of the video. I have not yet put any clear coat on this. So in fact, it's still a little bit wet. But there we go. Let's see if I can, there, maybe that's better. So we've got a little bit of a real flame going on. I just kind of cut a little cardboard template with some curves and shapes to it, and then sprayed that with some X2 gloss white just along the edges. And then I came back with clear yellow and clear red and just highlighted some stuff. So that's it. I think that's going to look good, especially with that red and black interior. So stick around next week and you'll see it all come together to the final build. All right? Peace and love, y'all.